Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our SAP BW Academy webinar, the fourth in a row and the last one as well. My name is Jiri, and I'll guide you through today's event. We'll focus on analyzing and migrating BW queries today, so hope you have prepared some questions, and let's go for it. Let me share my screen now. Yeah. So I hope you all see my screen. So let's start. So as I mentioned, this is the third one in a row, and let's focus on migrating BW queries. My name is Jiri, and I'm the head of SAP BW migrations at DataSentics. Before that, hope you also joined our previous sessions, which were focused more on this initial analysis for the BW migration project, as well as the second session, which where my colleagues described our methodology and our best practices on how to migrate the existing business logic from the typical BW objects like BW cubes or ODSOs, ADSOs, and transformations, and this type of logic. But today, let's focus on the queries. I'll just briefly guide you through what you will learn today. So we'll spend about 60 minutes together. I'll start with a short intro, then I'll describe the best way how to choose the queries for migration, because there are usually thousands of queries in every BW instance, and you can't migrate them all. It doesn't make sense. So I'll tell you how to choose the right ones. Then I'll also describe our methodology on how to identify the query components and attributes for the migration. Last but not least, we also show how we can automate the generation of Power BI semantic model, as well as the Power BI report from the BW metadata and BW logic. And the session will end with a quick wrap up. So let's go into it. So this is a deep dive session. I'll try to describe things in a great detail. So if you don't understand anything, there will be a recording available after this webinar ends. So feel free to download it and repeat it any number of times you need. Just a quick intro for those who don't know DataSentics. So we are a data and analytics company, and we've been on the market for 7 years. Recently, we focus a lot on those BW migration projects. We are part of multiple migration projects for large enterprise customers. One big pharmaceutical company in Germany. Also, we work for a global jewelry company and help them migrate their BW 7.5 to BigQuery in that case. And also, we are currently very active in one producer of building kits for children, and it's also a BW 7.5 to Databricks migration. Those are quite big BW systems, as you can imagine from the numbers provided the bottom part of the page, numbers of ADSOs and transformations. So really our process and our tool, which I'll be describing today, which is called BW Migrator, is capable of migrating large BW instances for large enterprise customers. So just a quick recap for those who are first here on this first episode of our academy. So the BW Migrator tool is a tool we have been developing over the last 18 months based on the experience from some projects we did in the past. The goal is first to reduce the migration risk and the scope by analyzing the usage of your BW objects and transformations and business logic. By using this process and this tool, you can achieve like 50-60% archival rate. So you'll need to migrate roughly just half of your BW logic to your new data platform. We also use modern LLM models, which we feed with all the necessary metadata and source code from BW to be able to properly generate the same business logic in the new data platform code, either in SQL or PySpark. We support Databricks, we support Fabric, Snowflake, GCP, as well as SAP Business Data Cloud, if you want to also continue with in the SAP ecosystem. Of course, the goal of using our tool and our methodology is to cut costs and make the project faster, deliver the project faster. So we believe, based on what we saw on our existing customers, that we can achieve like 30 to 50% improvement in the delivery time and costs compared to a completely manual process. Please ask questions to make this training as valuable as possible for you. So let's start with a quick question, right? So why do enterprises have so many BW queries? Usually, over the last 20 years, they started with a couple of queries, but then new team members joined the reporting team, and there were some queries already and some query components there. So they didn't want to break them, so they just created the simplest way to adjust them was to create a copy of the query and just adjust some tiny things, maybe to add a column into the query layout or change some filter, adjust the filter a bit. So that approach caused an explosion of queries with also often hard-coded key figures using copy-paste, right? So there were queries created just, for example, for some regions, regional-based queries, sales Germany, sales France, sales Europe. Also maybe different queries for different consumption tools. So it's complicated and definitely doesn't make any sense if you have 3,000 queries to migrate all of those 3,000 queries into your new data platform, resulting in, 3,000 Power BI reports or dashboards. So let's take this migration project as an opportunity to clean it up, to have a cleaner table. So we can also build new stuff faster without relying on some historical burden. So first, let's choose which queries to migrate and how we can do it, right? So the first step before migrating, choosing the queries to migrate, is to somehow identify which queries are being used by your business users. So you have the log tables in SAP BW. The log table is called, for example, this rsdd stat olap. Maybe the most important one, where the usage logs for queries and other BW objects are stored and updated. This table, you can find out how many times a particular query was invoked or consumed, as well as the other more granular tables, which are maybe available only on some BW systems. You have to check if those tables are available on your BW system, as well as they are populated with any new records. But they are very important if you want to identify the usage patterns, not only on a query level, but also more granular one on some specific filters or attributes. We also apply a lot of post-processing on the data coming from those tables in BW Migrator. I just wanted to show the table names here so you can use them if you don't use BW Migrator. But with BW Migrator, the process will be much smoother because we know how to automate the extraction and post-processing of logs from those tables. Those tables are usually pretty huge. I saw, like, I don't know, I think this one having 160 million rows. So you might need to pre-aggregate them using SQL because extracting 160 million rows of logs, it's not the easiest thing to do sometimes from a SAP system. And also make sure you have a sufficiently long log history, because on some SAP systems, there are only a few days of these logs available, and the older history is being scrapped. So of course, like the longer history you have, the more precise analysis you can prepare. If you have just 1 week of usage logs, then probably it wouldn't be very useful, because some reports are used, some queries are consumed only monthly or I don't know, every 14 days. So make sure that you have I don't know, at least 3 months of history. That's a good start, and then you can have even longer history. But that means that you have to come to your BW system and export the new batch of, I don't know, 1 week of logs again every 7 days. That's the only way, or like ask your BW administrator team to extend the retention log history. So let's dig into a demo now. So I'll show you how to choose the queries and the report components for the queries. So let's go here. So we have this multi-provider, and I'll start with a multi-provider, which is called EGC01. It's like an electronic gift card multi-provider reporting component. A multi-provider, which is used to report on the usage of online discount codes or vouchers on an e-commerce site. And you can see that there's one data source here, and some ODSOs and cubes and other objects and transformations. But there are, of course, some queries built on the top of the multi-provider. So let's just dig deeper into those queries, right? So you can see that there are a couple of queries here, but only 3 of them have those ticks. And if I move my cursor on the tick, I can find out that we have in this demo instance, we have about 9 days of logs only, so it's not the best situation. But and from those 9 days, this query was executed 13 times in 5 days, so basically every other day. So I'll just open the query here. So you can see this is like a preview of the query. There's some basic layout, right? Some columns, some rows, and some free characteristics as well. I can even show you the dependency graph of the queries, right? The upward one. So basically the structure of the query, right? So the query is here. You can see that it consists of a lot of other components. The orange ones are variables, for example. This is a local structure that connects to a key figure. So those are key figures, and the key figures often rely on CKFs or RKFs, calculated key figures or restricted key figures. So really, this is the full graph of all the dependencies for this query, so all the global and local query components that are part of this query. So I just wanted to show you this one query with the full detail, but let's go back to the query's overview. So again, on this multi-provider, we have 3 queries, 3 active queries, and the rest seems inactive. So we haven't found in the logs, in the usage logs, any record that will tell us those other queries are also used. So this is like the simplest way to start. Let's list the queries that are we consider as used, and maybe validate with the business, right? So if we just have 3, you can come to the business users, to our business users, and ask them if really those 3 queries are the only ones sitting on this multi-provider that they use regularly and they would like to migrate, or if they also rarely use some other queries and they should be migrated as well. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we'll focus only on those 3 queries, right? So I'll open another screen here, which is called a report components assessment view. And I already added the name of the electronic gift card multi-provider here, as well as the 3 queries from here. I took those identifiers and put them into the query selection. And as a result, I got a list of various query components from a global filter, this one defined on the multi-provider, as well as some local filters defined on the particular queries, right? The list is quite long, including some CKFs, RKFs, and CKFs. So this is the full list of query components we need to somehow migrate to be able to mimic the similar logic that was that is part of those 3 queries which we took from here. So maybe let's now run the export to Excel, where we can dig deeper into the attributes of those query components and how they can be further analyzed. Before that, I'll just repeat that, as you can see the warning here, we only have 9 days of logs here, so we'll base our analysis on that, but really our recommendation is to get at least 2-3 months or even more of logs to have higher certainty of identifying unused and used query components. So I can export the query components by clicking the link here. In the meantime, I'll switch back to the slides, because it might be useful to also discuss how to convert the source SAP BW query components into the so-called modern data stack. So we have the info provider, query, CKFs, RKFs, and other query components here. And every query component is somehow represented in the modern data stack. The info providers, I would say that usually info providers will appear as tables or maybe views or materialized views in your data model in Databricks, Snowflake, or any other data platform, right? So they are persisted there as a table, or not just one table, but of course some star schema with fact and dimensional tables around it. Then we have the query, which consists of a layout and the KPIs, of course. So the layout, usually the layout will be defined in Power BI or the reporting tool of your preference. But the KPIs, they can be represented both in the data model in Databricks or Snowflake, because you need sometimes you need to pre-calculate them for performance or on other reasons. But also, if you define them on a Power BI level, that makes them easier to edit and easier to adjust for your business team, who is more familiar with using Power BI, a no-code tool, rather than working with SQL or Databricks backend systems, right? So there are two options. Both data sometimes will live in data models, sometimes it will be a reporting tool. It's the same for the CKFs, RKFs, for example. You might also use the metric layer. Every tool, every modern data platform like Databricks or Snowflake has some kind of a metric layer. Sometimes it's called the metric flow, Unity catalog, metric views, and some others. So you can define the metrics there, or again, you can define them in the Power BI. Again, it depends on the performance and the preference of your team. And it goes basically goes similarly with the other components and the filters. But yeah, for one query might be represented as multiple reports in the reporting tool, like reporting pages in Power BI, for example. So this is just a basic comparison, and let's go back to the demo, right? So I exported the query components here in the Excel file, and I'll show you. Yeah, it's this one, right? So the export has two main parts, the components export as well as the attributes export. The components export is what you saw on the basically on the previous page here. It's the list of components. The attributes is the list of basically fields or multi-provider attributes that are being referenced somewhere in the KPIs. If there's a KPI that sums some two attributes, then those two attributes will be mentioned on this attribute tab. So let's start with the global ones, right? So we can, for example, filter the global ones that are defined on the multi-provider layer. So we have one filter here, and some restricted key figures as well as the calculated key figures. So those are the global attributes, global components that can be reused across multiple across multiple BW queries, and they can be also reused across multiple Power BI pages or Power BI dashboards, right? And I'll show you later on how this can be done in Power BI and using our process. On the other hand, you also have some query components that are defined locally on a particular query, right? So this filter it's not reusable; it's just defined on some particular query and can be used only in the context of that particular query. Similarly, with those key figures, number of total value of cards, I don't know, average value of cards, some other metrics. So this is just a base difference between the global and the local query components, and we'll try to mimic this logic with our process migration to Power BI and the modern data platform. Yeah, you can also see that we already exported the code for Power BI and some DAX, some DAX code for filters or metrics. So you can see that, for example, for the CKFs, for the restricted and calculated key figures, you can already see that we calculated some of amount here, but only for records where this attribute equals to instrumentation activation or redemption or other values, right? So those are already some KPIs being defined, and we'll be migrating them to Power BI one-to-one, basically. Yeah, maybe also it's good to create something like a column that is called selected for migration. Sorry, should be here. And then you can put 1 or 0 once you decide if this component is worth migrating to the new data platform, the new report in Power BI, for example, or not, based on various factors, primarily by discussing with your business, because maybe some of the KPIs they would like to keep, but some others might be discarded or replaced with some completely new KPIs. So this is and really this Excel was generated only for the electronic gift card multi-provider, so you'll end up having basically one Excel for every multi-provider in your BW system, or like the ones that you choose for migration. So let's go. Yeah, also let's focus on the attributes backtracing. So we have the multi-provider, we have the queries. Yeah, I forgot about the attributes, right? So let's switch to the attributes. So here you can see the objects and the attribute which is being referenced in that query component. So this is like a list of query attributes, or sorry, multi-provider attributes, both the standard ones as well as some custom ones, and where they are being referenced. And I'll create a pivot table from that to see that, some of the attributes are used across multiple query components. Of course, some date filtering is being applied in various filters, in various components, so it's being referenced multiple times. But the goal of this process is to identify the unique list of attributes being referenced in the query, so I can then decide which of the attributes needs to be, of the original multi-provider needs to be migrated, because the original multi-provider has a lot of attributes, right? Many more than we can see here. So maybe for whatever reason, we don't need to migrate all of those attributes, and we can limit the number of attributes being migrated. And as a result, it will again make our migration project much simpler, because we won't migrate logic and attributes and basically business stuff that is no more necessary. So we have the list of the attributes here, and if I go back to the multi-provider, I can look up the lineage for some specific attributes, right? So, for example, for the sum key figure, the 0 amount, I can display it, the lineage. So the 0 amount comes from it's the same data source, ZBV Presales, but in this case, in this branch, it uses the activity amount field from the data source, And there is another field called currency type code, which goes through some ADSO, and it connects here in this info source and goes towards the multi-provider. So this part of the graph is where the zero amount, the actual amount of discount, or like the voucher, online discount voucher amount is being processed. On the other hand, the currency, which comes from this currency type code attribute, is being processed in the right part of the lineage graph. And they both connect in this cube, and then they are being used in the multi-provider. I can also look for some other attribute again, right? So activity amount, again, currency type code goes through some graph. In this case, it's pretty simple because we only have one data source. But in some cases, of course, there might be multiple source attributes that are being merged on the way, and they result in one attribute in the cube or in the multi-provider. This is all we can track. So and I can export the lineage for all the attributes at once by clicking the export fields here. It exports them in CSV. This is the other file I have available here, right? So you'll get this export where you can see the name of the field of the multi-provider, as well as what is the data source for that field, really going down the full graph for that attribute back to the data source. So there'll be often two fields, for example, for one field coming from the multi-provider. For the zero amount, you can see that there are multiple fields. So this is the full export. And if I just take all the data sources and attributes, and again create a pivot table, it makes sense that in 172 cases, the attributes come from this data source, but there are some exceptions. Those are the ODSOs and ADSOs, and there are some constants here. So sometimes the value of that attribute is being defined in the middle of the processing as a constant value. So this is what we also have here. But in most cases, they all comes from this one data source, not other data sources. So this is the full lineage, which is often very, very popular, right, among our customers, because they can then easily identify the sources, data sources for particular attributes defined on the multi-provider or in the reporting layer. So basically the process would be, let's take the attributes which we identify in this first table, the attributes that are actively being referenced from the CKFs, RKFs in the query, and then let's filter out this other table just for those attributes to understand which data sources are necessary to being reproduced on the new data platform, and the related logic as well to be able to create those attributes. So it was, maybe let's have a quick rest, right? Because it was very technical, very detailed. So let's maybe focus on something more visual now. And I would like to demonstrate how we can migrate an actual query to Power BI. So let's go back to the multi-provider. Let's open this 0.003 query. again. You can see there's a layout here, and columns, rows, and characteristics. Even the variables are here. So let's switch let's switch to the overview, and here, you can download the full definition of the query into Power BI. And I've already done that. So I have my Power BI open here. But before that, maybe I can also guide you through how it looks like, right? So we generate the Power BI dashboard and tables and references into tables in this TMDL format. So it's like a text definition where you can see all the relationships in this case, all the tables, including all the columns and data types and everything. So by generating this, we are able to easily export your existing BW queries from SAP BW into Power BI, where you can customize them. Either you can open those files and edit the columns or whatever you need manually, or you can, of course, open the file in Power BI to see the actual model. Right? So you can see it's a star schema model where you have this fact, which is basically this table or entity in Power BI stands for the multi-provider, and it has all the dimensional tables connected to it as foreign keys or like referenced dimensions. So if I switch to the report view, you can see that there is a table here with some the KPIs defined on a query. On the query and as well as on the multi-provider. And I have some filters here which we also inherited or were created from the query. So there is a global filter here which filters data on all pages. If you create multiple pages of this report, it's basically the global query which we take from the target currency of your report. Of course, there are some basic hierarchies in place. For example, for the sales organization hierarchy, which consists of continent, country, city. So if I choose this table, I can now it's just continent, country, and I can even add the city city dimensions. So to have a even higher granularity. It's been loaded. Not sure if you can see it. I'll make it a bit bigger. Yeah, so now we can see that not only you have continent and country, but the city also has been added here. So that's the basic workflow regarding Power BI. I wanted to guide you through. So let's maybe go back to the presentation for a quick recap. So make sure you have the usage logs prepared and cleaned up and validated, because it makes half of the success. if you have them, you can easily identify some candidates for migration as well as candidates for archival. Always validate your findings with actual users of the queries, because there might be a lot of reasons why some query seems unused, but eventually is being used rarely, or for some reason it doesn't appear in the logs, and vice versa. Also, there might be queries that might be pulled automatically using some automated system to some other database or whatever, but in that target database, no one is using them. So even you see from the logs that the query is heavily consumed, but the query is consumed by some automated process, and no actual humans are eventually using it, right? So this can be the case. And just summarizing the migration process as I outlined it in my presentation. So let's start by choosing some active queries per info provider based on the logs. You doesn't need to spend a lot of time on that. Really look into the logs, validate with the business, and then you have the queries which you can further refine. Once you have the queries, you can find the query components for the queries with BW Migrator. It's a pretty straightforward process, as I showed you. If you don't have BW Migrator and like to use Eclipse or dig deeper into the BW metadata tables, it's a bit more work. But if you're skilled with BW and you are knowledgeable of BW metadata structures, you will find it as well. For specific queries or specific multi-providers or info providers, you might need to discuss how to convert them into the new data platform, because in SAP BW on HANA, everything is in memory, or at least the reporting layer lives in memory. So most of the queries are very, very fast, right? But it's very different to what you will have in Databricks or Snowflake, or those new data platforms that are primarily storing data into cloud storages, cheap cloud storages, which are cheap but much slower than HANA and then memory storages, right? So you have to apply different patterns, different strategies, how to materialize some pre-filtered data and serve them into the reporting layer to satisfy your business users who expect the report refresh times in, under 5 seconds, right? So sometimes it will be challenging with Power BI if you use direct query rather than import. You might also utilize Fabric, Direct Lake. There are a couple of options, and every use case might require a bit different setup. So then once you decide on your data architecture, migrate the active global query components and also active queries. So first start with those CKFs, RKFs, global filters, those reused or reusable query components. Once you have them, then every BW query you choose to migrate will have all the necessary building blocks to be finished. But still, you have to implement those local KPIs, local filters defined on the queries as well. Of course, reconciliation is crucial. You can reconcile against the original BW queries if they are more or less lifted and shifted, or like copy-paste, and then repeat with the next info provider you want to migrate.